How different is it compared to the reality on the ground when you're dealing with those animals?
Animals is exactly what they are, and people asking me about, so getting shot, losing teammates, PTSD, whatever it is, or if it's, taking another person's life. And I always said, I never felt like I ever took another person's life. I shot a lot of two-legged animals. I shot a lot of people that were not human and did not deserve to be on this earth. So I sleep like a baby at night. And ISIS, without a doubt, was the most, savage enemy we had come across. They had this young, when Raqqa was still their stronghold. They had this battalion called the Young Lions Battalion, and they were like 7 and 8-year-old kids, and they were training them to be soldiers, which isn't that unique, except their final exercise was they would put them through this like CQB shoot house, and they would have live people, like enemy, like POW, Kurds, Christians, bound and gagged. And the same way we would go through and shoot paper targets in a shoot house, they're shooting people on their final exercise, training these kids to murder. It's again, that Jordanian pilot that they set on fire alive in a cage. The Coptic Christians in Israel that they marched, I think it was 40 of them to the beach and just murdered them. The beheadings, you name it. They deserved everything they got and more. And to be honest with you, we should have gotten involved in that a lot earlier. That, the only mistake America made was not doing anything until they had taken over half of Syria and half of Iraq. And now we were like, oh, maybe we should do something about this. And as I got older, I'm not the person that says we should be the world's police. I had no problem of pulling out of Afghanistan. I have no problem of not being the world's police. But the moment they started cutting off American heads, we should have showed up, and we could have, and ISIS would have been a blip on the radar. But they cut off 5 American heads, and we still didn't do anything about it until they had almost taken over Iraq. It really was a blunder on America's part, to be honest with you.
Does it feel better killing someone like that compared to maybe, a regime loyalist, or maybe I hear a lot of guys talk about some of the guys they fought in Afghanistan. They almost, I wouldn't say feel bad for them, but they're like, is this guy purely evil? Maybe, maybe not. But they all say when it came to ISIS, it just felt better. Would you agree with that?
I would. I mean, the way I would rate it, if you will, and everyone will have a different, experience and a different answer. In Iraq, sometimes we were in the middle of, of a civil war, at some point, that at the Afghanistan, I respected the guys in Afghanistan. They always come out to fight, they're at least willing to die for their cause. But man, I really, really, really hated ISIS. I never walked by a dead ISIS body with anything other than just joy.
Were those guys?
I know that sounds weird, but
no, it doesn't sound weird. No, it doesn't sound weird at all.
Yeah.
Where ISIS presented it, and I'm enjoying this a lot. I think our viewers are going to be fascinated by this, especially the younger ones. They projected, we're so tough, we're so violent, you can't reach the level that we get to. If you captured any of these guys, did they drop the tough guy act pretty quickly, or did they try to maintain that in custody?
You had a good mix of like some of the foreign fighters that would come through, that they were tenacious, and they'd look at you like, man, if you'd take these flex cuffs off me, I'd choke the life out of you right now. I mean, they just stare at you with dead eyes. And But yeah, you get a mixture of everything, and there are plenty of ISIS fighters on the front lines, especially when the march to Raqqa was going on, that they didn't want to be on the front lines, but it was either stay on the front lines and fight, or um, or retreat and get killed by ISIS. And you could still say, well, you still enjoyed watching them die, because yeah, like they raised their hand to come fight for evil, and then they found out what evil was, and so you already voted, you came to do this, and now be careful what you wish for.
What's it like operating in a country that is essentially divided by five, six, however many different factions? You got the United States, you have the Assad regime, you have the Russians who are in there, you have Iranian assets that are in there, you got
Yeah.
ISIS that's in there. How the hell do you even know? I mean, how do you know the Russians aren't just going to try rolling through wherever you are?
Well, they tried that once, and it didn't work out. Didn't
That's
work out
correct.
well for them. I was there for that. The um, it, Here's something that this will make some people mad, but I don't. The truth is the truth, that I believe generals hide behind, and to be honest with you, so do politicians. They hide behind this lie. Whenever something, they'll say, "Well, it's really complicated." It's actually not that complicated. You know, I, ISIS was bad. The Kurds were good. The ISIS was on this side, and we'll just keep killing everyone on that side until we get to Raqqa and we free Raqqa. Um, Syria wasn't a problem. Syria, the whole reason why ISIS was able to take over half of Syria is because the Syrian army was just inept. And the Syrian army, stayed over on the western side, and they didn't have the ability, they weren't going to go toe to toe with Americans, or they, I believe they were more than willing to let America rid their country of the ISIS problem,
Right.
and then they'll get their country back through political means, because they know, America's going to give it back to them anyway, because we're always politically spineless. So that, I believe that was their goal, which basically worked out for them. The Russians were just there to do, was just there to stir things up. But I never worried about the Russians, being a part of the problem. The different factions, a slight problem with the different factions, because who's a friend one day is an enemy the next. But that that generally wasn't a problem, because that really didn't happen within the Kurds. And so as long as you just stayed with the Kurds were really good partners. The Kurds were the best partners we've ever had. They were way better than the Afghans and way better than the Iraqis. They were more than willing to fight for their cause. All they wanted was guns and ammo, and point in the direction of the enemy, and they as best they could go take care of the problem. I really respected the Kurds.